Okay, students, we have been doing powder dosage forms. You have had videos showing you or illustrating to you how you compound divided powders. Today we are going to illustrate how to compound a bulk powder, and we'll be using the econazole sulfathiazole question to demonstrate this. Okay, so the equipment that we will need in compounding a bulk powder are shown here. You would have known about your spatulas, your porcelain mortar, and your weighing boats. And we also have a 30cc container for packaging. We also want to introduce to you the two sets of sieves that we have here for powders. We have number 60, which has an aperture size of 250 microns, and you should know what kind of powder this is supposed to be used for. We also have number 80 sieve with an aperture size of 180 microns, and of course we have our gloves. So we'll proceed to showing you how to compound. Okay, students, we are going to be using the top loading balance to prepare some of the ingredients. The talc has 22.25 grams, so we'll be using the top loading balance to weigh that. And this is our analytical balance, and this is what we'll be using to weigh the two active ingredients, the econazole and the sulfathiazole powder. We are going to prepare our powders. The first thing you need to do is to collect your powders in excess, as she has done here. This is talcum powder, and she had already started placing some of the talcum powder in the mortar, and she's now going to lightly triturate it. See, it is important to wear your mask because the powder is quite fluffy and the particles are suspended in the air, so you need to keep your mask on. So she's lightly triturating just to break up any clumps that might be in the ingredient coming from the stock bottle. So we're not reducing the particle size because the particles are already small. We are really just breaking this powder up to break up the lumps. We will do this for the other ingredients and proceed to weigh. And now we are going to proceed to weigh the 22.25. But before we do so, we are going to have to tear the weighing boat in which we are going to weigh. So she's going to remove the guard shield. And if you notice, the weighing boat does have a weight, so we're going to have to tear it. So she's putting over the shield to reduce the draft that may affect your weighing. Now she's going to proceed to weigh the 22.25 grams. And she will keep adding powder until she arrives at the 22.25. And this is how we're going to be weighing the other two ingredients. This is just a learning point, students. When you're trying to achieve the final weight of 22.25, you are not to try to reach exactly 22.25, but within, say, a 5% margin of error. So she's putting the guard, and if you notice, we are at 22.21. Now these are the weighed ingredients. We should have sieved the excess powders before weighing, but as Mrs. Richards would have reiterated in the lecture, because of the nature of the lab and the powders, we refrain from sieving. Okay, but normally in the industry in particular, these powders are normally sieved prior to weighing. Okay, now students, we have weighed all our ingredients. Notice that we have labeled the ingredients with the amounts, so we are not mixed up and adding, not knowing what we are adding at a certain time. So we are going to now start by adding according to geometric dilution. Now, if you remember what Mrs. Richards said in the theory class, we add according to density or how voluminous the powder is. So we normally start with 2 powders first. Do not mix 3 powders at once, just 2 at a time. And we're going to enter into the mortar, the smallest powder in terms of visual volume, how big it is in terms of the volume. So based on what we're seeing here, iconazole seems to be the smallest amount by volume, so that's the one we're going to add first to the mortar, and that is 0.88 grams. So she's adding that to the mortar. And now she is now going to add the second powder, and the second powder must be almost a similar size to what you have added to the mortar. So of course she is going to, the iconazole is smaller in by volume, so she's going to try to match back what's in the mortar with the similar amount in terms of volume, not in terms of weight now, but in terms of visual examination. So she's going to mix it, and she's going to mix it until it is homogeneous. She's using her spatula to ensure that all the powders remain towards the center of the mortar, and she's going to mix. Now she's going to observe the resulting mixture and add that same amount of the sulfathiazole powder to the mortar. So based on that, she's going to add the remaining amount. So this is what we call the doubling up method. She will now add an amount of talc powder that is equal to the volume of powder in the mortar. And she's going to continue to do that until all the talcum powder has been used up and the mixture is homogeneous. She's going to mix, and this will continue until all talcum powder has been added. So she's adding the final amounts of the talcum powder to the mixture, and she's mixing until it is homogeneous. And she would have had her mixture, which is now ready for weighing. Okay, we are going to package our iconazole and sulfathiazole powder in this 30 cc jar. We are packaging 20 grams. So she is going to weigh the container first. She has to take into account the weight of the container. We advise that as you enter the lab, you weigh your container and record it on your compounding sheet. So she's going to tear the weight for this. Okay, so the balance have taken account the weight of the container. Now she is going to remove the container and enter, or package rather, the powder until it reaches 20 grams. So Okay students, this is a 20 grams of powder packaged. We have now packaged our 20 grams of the econazole and sulfathiazole bulk powder. You are to ensure that your container is clean. You can use alcohol to clean the container before affixing the label. So we are going to affix the label now. She has already written our label. Notice that the border is red. Just to say though, that if you go in the pharmacies, you won't see any red or black or blue border. But it is really a tradition that we use in the lab. Ensure your labels are not lean. And there you have it. All your cautionary and auxiliary labels should be affixed. So you're not going to apply the powder to large open wounds. And you are going to ensure that for external use is written on it. Okay? And your beyond use date as well.